Good, that's what I wanted the text to look like. Okay, so I loved The Last of Us when it came out. Never played it, never even played the DLC until now. And I wasn't a big fan of the Uncharted games until 4. Boop. And 4 I think is the best Uncharted by far. By far. Not even close with the other 3. Extremely impressive. So I thought I'd go back and play The Last of Us Remastered since I bought it like over a year ago. Let's finally play it. And besides noticing some weird things they did when they brought it to PS4, there's some interesting, if you're super into the technical side of things, there's some funny kind of rendering techniques they used where if the flashlight is on stuff, it gets a bunch of extra detail and aliasing. But if the flashlight's off of it, it doesn't, and it looks kind of drab, and it's in the darkness, so you can't really see it. But that was a fun tech nerd thing for me to find. Besides that, The Last of Us, gorgeous, not as beautiful as Uncharted 4. How could it be? But there's some things. There's some things here because you might think of The Last of Us as like this amazing, grand adventure with impressive stealth sequences and all that, but playing it the second time and after Uncharted 4, there's really a lot they could kind of take from Uncharted 4, and there was a lot from Uncharted 4 taken from The Last of Us, but I think the stealth in Uncharted 4 is kind of better than The Last of Us. In The Last of Us, you can't mark enemies, so you have to keep popping into that noise view. And it really slows it down. It gets to the point where the guys are popping out of nowhere. It does the Uncharted 1 through 3 thing where animations don't quite line up, or there's inconsistencies where people gum through doors and you hit them, but sometimes they alert everyone and sometimes it doesn't. And it's an impressive system where you run away and hide and you kind of see what things are going on, but it suffers the same problems again as Uncharted 1 through 3. The Last of Us has too much combat. It doesn't have enough of lulls and stuff, especially when you're going through it the second time, and you can kind of just, oh, I remember this a little bit. Oh, okay, then we all did this. Okay, yeah, sure, whatever, sure. It just doesn't. Okay, so good stuff that The Last of Us has that I would like to see, particularly framing this from what to see in The Last of Us 2, because take some things from Uncharted 4, besides the polish and all that. I think the whole idea of stealth in Uncharted 4 is better. And it's better for a couple reasons, because you can mark people, but also because of the level design isn't so cramped, and it fits in a way. So a big key difference actually with Uncharted and The Last of Us is Uncharted you can snap to cover, right? In The Last of Us, you just kind of hide behind things. And that leads to problems where it feels like, am I hiding behind this? I think I am. I'm kind of sideways diagonal though, and this guy's going to come in front of me and I need to be able to stealth kill him. It doesn't quite work or feel good in the same way of being stealthy in Uncharted 4 felt amazing to me. I loved it. The Last of Us is a completely different stealth game, but it's the roughness around the edges. Now, there's also the crafting and the looting and all that. That's obviously not in Uncharted. And playing through it again, I really think they can hone that down. There's a lot of running around like an idiot after you kill a bunch of guys in the area, and then now I'm going to search all the drawers. And that's fine and all, but you really do end up, if you know what you're doing and you're trying to be stealthy, you end up with so much garbage. I would like to see them add a larger inventory, more things to craft, maybe, or strip it back. You can upgrade your weapon in that. And I never thought I'd say this after playing The Last of Us and before Uncharted 4. I never thought I'd say, I think Uncharted 4 is just better. It really it really respects itself. There's so many times in The Last of Us where, oh, I gotta push this pallet again, or oh, a clicker got me, I didn't see him, he came out of the corner, and now I'm dead, and it's like, just fucking, who cares? Like, there's so many weird arbitrary rules with that. There's so much freedom and fun with Uncharted 4, but you can be stealthy, but you don't have to. The Last of Us, I would love to try and play The Last of Us again and play it not stealthy, because I imagine it's terrible. I imagine it's straight up a horrible game. Because the shooting isn't that great. It's very weighted and it's realistic in a way that isn't fun. It's more fun to be stealthy, but you can't be stealthy because you got to take the guys down slow. And if you use the shiv, there's a lot of risk reward and managing what you have that deals with that. But if you're playing the game stealthily, you still only have a certain number of shivs. If you're playing the game unstealthily, you're not gonna have enough ammo. So it's kind of a weird mix that it wants you to play a certain way. And there are incredible moments there, but it really does come down to constantly, it's constantly the village in Resident Evil 4. Where it's like, okay, this is a set piece moment. This is where you fight a bunch of guys in the neighborhood. This is where you go into the school. This is where you fight after the giraffe. So this is where you sneak around, do that, all that shit. Every moment is a set piece in there, and all the set pieces are set around combat in The Last of Us. Except for, I mean, obviously there's others that aren't, but the vast majority are set around combat. Like, hold this cabin with Ellie. Okay, this is a set piece moment that hinges on combat. None of them hinge on stealth or just on storytelling in a way that's memorable. And that's what Uncharted 4 did, was it really just didn't give a shit. It was like, alright, we're gonna just have cutscenes for an hour here. You're just gonna walk around. You're gonna sail on a boat with your brother for an hour. Have fun. And I did. Like, it really felt true to itself, and it could have these moments because there's platforming of, this is a set piece moment that has nothing to do with shooting. Here's some puzzles. I think The Last of Us 2 could use puzzles. Or some more than put a ladder here or put a ladder there. Maybe some like Batman style investigation where you're solving a thing. These larger worlds, I'm very excited to see what they can do with it, because after Uncharted 4 they can do so much. Very clearly. The Last of Us does feel dated. Its story, I think, is still really good and overall better told and stronger than Uncharted. Uncharted's this pulp Indiana Jones story. It's not trying to be Dune or something that's like complex, and it's like, no, it's just a guy, he's got treasure and he's got a brother and then some treasure. That's all it needs to be. And it's the fluidity, the fastness of how you do things in Uncharted. But the slow, very conflicted, because the slow nature of The Last of Us is what makes it The Last of Us. But I can't help but feel that maybe you don't need jumping. Maybe we don't need jumping around like a hooligan. But to feel a little more capable. I'll liken it to Metal Gear Solid 5, where you are being stealthy, but you can do all these different things. You can grab a person and choke them out, but you can also hold them and you can do that in The Last of Us, but it never behooves you to do that. Straight up never. Because if you're grabbing a guy, you're going in stealthily. You're not all of a sudden now, I'm taking a hostage. Doesn't make any sense. There's so many other things you can do in these stealth games that I think this needs. There's no option or way to hide in The Last of Us. Whereas, like, okay, there's a locker here. Let's hide in the locker. Or hide around this corner. And the guy, you're hiding just by being yourself in a different place. And it doesn't feel like you're hiding. There's no way to be like, okay, there's a bed here. I'm going to hide under the bed. There's no takedowns like there are in Uncharted, where, okay, this guy's near an edge of a cliff. I'll just push him off the edge of the cliff. Or he's near a wall. I'll grab him by the arm and spin him around into the wall to knock him out. There's none of that in The Last of Us, and that's what it needs. It needs that diversity of environmental takedowns in the stealth, because every single time it is straight up, I'm just gonna choke this guy. Guess I just choked this guy to death. dude, Joel, like stop. And it really hit home this second time playing. Like, Joel is not a good guy at all. He is the bad guy. He's a straight up homicidal maniac. Like, it was like, how did I not see this so clearly last time? I feel like I was more on his side, and now, I don't know. Oh, and the Left Behind was good. The Left Behind is more what I'm talking about. This kind of slower. It had a couple moments. Go back to that point I was making about the. Hello, Merry Christmas, Wolfman. The point I was making about Resident Evil 4, where there's set piece moments of Resident Evil 4 of this is the village, and now you're gonna have a combat thing. The Last of Us does that with every single combat encounter. But what the Resident Evil 4 did, and other games obviously have done, is have these moments where you go into an area and you can just, they're not really alerted or they're not really caring about you, and you can do what you want, and maybe you fight them and maybe you don't. There's only a few of them. It doesn't become a big thing. That's the difference. Even if you can be stealthy through an area in The Last of Us, it'll become a big thing, or it's still so much stealth. There's not little moments of stealth or little moments of combat in The Last of Us that I felt like they're missing pacing-wise. Do you remember Wolfman? I remember a Wolfman, but I meet so many people online. I don't know if they're people. They could be robots. Could be robots. You'd have to give me more information of more specifics. Look at how terrible I am at this game. Not very good at it. Oh, paint yourself into a corner, Drake. Fall off a cliff. Poor Drake. Poor Drake. Falls and dies. He runs around. I don't know. But there's a lot to improve on with The Last of Us. That's what I took away from it. Was yes, it was amazing and great at the time, and it is still great and impressive. But after Uncharted 4, they kind of showed what other stuff they can do, and there's a lot of improvements that could be made to make The Last of Us 2 just like incredible. Basically what Uncharted 4 is to the rest of the series, Last of Us 2 could be to The Last of Us 1. Yeah, I'm talking about The Last of Us. I'm talking about The Last of Us and Uncharted, basically. Uncharted 4 specifically. I loved marking dudes. Oh, marking dudes is so awesome. I'm down with marking dudes in every game. But the shooting in Uncharted 4, it's kind of all over the place. Look how impressive it is. I really do think Uncharted 4 is so visually impressive in what they accomplished here. Now, my gameplay, not very good, but take that as well. The Last of Us just has the better setting. And when I first played it, there were a lot of moments of, oh, this is a fantastic Resident Evil 4 style moment. But on the second playthrough, it really was, nah. It never has that slow down, explore this area. The lulls. It never has the lulls in the same way Uncharted 4 does, or even Resident Evil 4. Or a lot of games. It just, Bioshock. I keep mentioning Bioshock today. It's really coming around. It never has that. It always feels kind of like you're just under constant pressure. There's never a benefit to exploring just for exploring. It's always, I'll explore, oh, there's an enemy. Or I'm exploring because I have to find this ladder. There's always a thing you're doing. In a way that there's never just exploring for exploring's sake. That's what's missing. The Last of Us is great. When was the last time you played The Last of Us? That's an interesting thing, because I played it when it came out, and I just played it, I finished it like a week ago. The Last of Us Remastered. And it is an amazing game. It is great. But I do think it's rough around the edges. There are problems with it. There's things where, why can't, like if I'm hiding behind cover, like a window, and there's a guy on the other side of the window, I can't take him down through the window. I can't grab him through the window and like pull him onto the other side. There's no stealth takedown stuff like that. There's just a lot of weird things like that in the game that don't quite add up. And I do think the tall grass from Uncharted 4 was a great addition. I love the tall grass. Tall grass is awesome. And I think that we need tall grass is what we need in The Last of Us 2. A lot of tall grass. Yeah, it's great. No, it's a great game for sure. Played a year ago. But have you played Uncharted 4? That's the thing. And I'm not a big Uncharted guy. I think 1 through 3 are just good. Uncharted 4 was amazing. It's the one game I played this year that I keep thinking about. Like, I want to play that again. And I finished it. Yeah, no. Did you play Uncharted 4 though? That's the big question. Because I can't see, like, if you play The Last of Us, I can't see how you would play Uncharted 4. Oh, okay. I can't say how you'd play Uncharted 4 and not feel like, oh man, there's so much more here. That's why I played The Last of Us Remastered. Was like, they did this very impressive, from a technical level, from just how the game unfolds, from a feeling, how it feels to play the game. They brought so much to the table with Uncharted 4 that going back to The Last of Us was like, wow, they really could improve this. It's a great game, but they really could dial it to 11 and make something incredible out of The Last of Us 2 that we're not expecting at all. Just in terms of how it plays and mechanics and everything involved. That's what's exciting about it. Because going back to it, it's great. But I already played it, and I played this game, the Uncharted 4. And Uncharted 4 has some fantastic stuff. If you liked the stealth in The Last of Us, you probably really like Uncharted 4. The stealth's the best part. But here's the thing. Like, you can take this guy down, right? You can't do anything like that in The Last of Us. And maybe that's being more realistic, but doing shit like that's fun. And I don't think Joel should be jumping out of buildings and punching dudes on the ground. No, not saying that. But he should have more options for takedowns, for stealth takedowns.